Thank you very much for joining us here on Explore Big Sky with Hoary Marmot. I am with Jared Stein. Jared is the co-founder and executive artistic director of the Arts Incubator Ranch, which is where we sit. We drove 2 hours to be here. Why?
Well, we drove 2 hours from Bozeman. We're sitting in the middle of a property called Trapper's Cabin Ranch. It's also sometimes called Lightning Creek. You'll see why from the creek outside. But this will be the future home of our project A.I.R.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Arts Incubator Ranch. Tell me what does that mean? What does it mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, the concept came from when we first got up to Montana and experiencing the nature and the outdoors and the rivers. I've always lived in big cities my whole life, so to come and experience that, it was really inspiring to me as an artist. I've had a career as a musician, as a music director, and the idea came just being out in nature. Said if I could get artists out here to create new work, to study, to be in nature away from those distractions, I think that we'd be able to create some really remarkable stuff. So the concept is really a ranch specifically made for artists where they can come study, take master classes and workshops, and then we want to offer residencies. So if someone's developing a new project, whether that be a Broadway musical or a new album or a script or a film, photography project, anything really, they could come out here, check out, put the phones away, put away the Netflix, and create out in nature.
Well, we're sort of let's unpack everything you just said a little bit, and let's start with your background. What you are not from Montana,
right,
much like me.
Yeah. Sorry.
So tell me where you come from and what do you do professionally?
Sure. Yeah. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. And then I moved off to New York at age 18 to go to NYU, where I studied musical theater. I very sort of quickly pivoted and found myself more on the music side of theater as opposed to the performing side, and was hired as a music director, worked in a lot of national tours, Broadway shows. And
such as, you can list them.
Okay, cool. My first big job after school was I music directed a tour of Rent for about 1.5 years on the road, which was obviously an amazing opportunity and experience and kind of my entryway into that world.
Yeah. And so you went all over the country with
that? I did that for 18 months, toured all over the country. And by that point, this was in, what year was that? Maybe 2006. So, Rent opened on Broadway in 1996. So the show had been out for about 10 years.
Okay.
So by that point, when you're on the road, you're doing the C and D market cities.
Smaller,
you've already played
smaller venues.
Actually, we were lucky enough to still stop at LA and Chicago and whatever, but most of it's small. So it's bus and truck tour. You're playing, Waco, Texas for a one-nighter, little towns like that. And so it's really an amazing experience to sort of get, and I saw a lot of the country. Unfortunately, at that time, the shows don't really tour through Montana. They're starting to now, finally, which is exciting. But in all those years of touring, I had never come up here and had the opportunity to experience it. But finished Rent, went back to the city. There was a show on Broadway that was sort of the big thing at the time called Spring Awakening.
Okay.
And they were sending out a tour for that. So I got hired and went out on the road with that show for another about 18 months. That's where I met my current day partner, Kimberly. She was the company manager, tour manager for the show. So we met and then we left that tour.
You were co-workers?
We were co-workers, probably, doing things we shouldn't on the road.
But that's some HR violations.
I don't know. Don't tell anybody. Yeah, I know it's a family podcast, so we'll, but we did that, and then we collectively left that show together to go work on American Idiot on Broadway, which is the Green Day album that they turned into a Broadway show.
Yep.
It was a lot of the same producing team, directing team, design team, and so they said, "Hey, would you guys come help us mount this on Broadway?" So we did that, and then took out that tour for another year after the Broadway run. So lots of in and out of New York. Yeah. And then after that tour, Broadway's amazing, touring's amazing, but 8 shows a week can get a bit exhausting and tiresome. Sure. And it's, you got to do the same thing every night. So we sort of needed a little break and decided to, take a pause from that. And we decided to do a little stint in LA. We opened a business totally non-related to anything out there. So sort of like a yoga studio, juice bar, all-in-one type wellness, a very LA type thing.
That sounds like it.
Yeah, it's about the most LA thing that could be LA. And but while I was out there, sort of found myself, back into music and more in the film and TV side of things. And Kimberly was operating, working for the Music Center Foundation out there, which oversees the LA Phil and a bunch of other arts organizations out there. So we, quickly found ourselves back in the arts, but the LA version of all that. And then during COVID, everything shut down.
Yeah.
In the industry, and my work was sort of poof and gone. And so we spent most of that year just on the road camping because we didn't feel like being stuck inside. So we went out and we got a trailer and went all over the country, and we came up here and experienced this. And we said, wow, that's remarkable. And we want to be there.
Yeah.
That's where we want to raise our
Spoke
kid.
to you.
It really did. Yeah.
The river whispered your name.
Absolutely. Yeah. There was like literally like a draw, like something was saying like, you are supposed to be in Montana now. So we figured out how to do that.
And you are here now. And how did you kind of like build this organization, the Arts Incubator Ranch? You have a board.
Yeah.
And this is a legit nonprofit that you've built.
Totally.
How did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, it takes time. And, when we first got here, it was a lot of just sort of business plan development and knowing that we were new in the community, just trying to meet everybody and become a part of the community, connect with all the important people and major players, and just find our own sense of community here. So that was kind of the start of it. And then a little over a year ago, we actually filed for our nonprofit status, which we got last August, and then we collected a board, and we've had that board together for a year. And the last year has really been kind of just continuing to develop and refine things and establish more of those relationships and connections throughout the community. And then slowly kind of looking at properties and seeing what was out there. The vision has always been about finding the piece of land and, building cabins and a music studio and a dance studio and having all the necessary workspaces for artists to come and create.
Yeah.
And so, we said, well, let's start doing some kind of small scale stuff in town. Can we rent Airbnbs and just have a couple writers come out? And can we do small concerts for the community, whether that's, Live from the Divide or the Rialto, the spaces, making use of existing spaces until we can sort of find our own space. So
just kind of testing the concept
a little bit of beta testing. And so we've started doing that. We've had some artists out. We have another artist coming in like 2 weeks from now, actually, I guess next week, actually.
Nice.
A writer from Nashville who's developing a Broadway show. So she's coming out to, work on her project, give her a mini residency. And then she was kind enough to also offer to do a masterclass with local songwriters. So we're kind of doing both parts of our mission, which is the, the residency portion and the educational portion, and tying it in with the community and giving opportunity for local artists to experience that.
Does this exist already? Are you creating something brand new?
It's a good question. I mean, there are definitely obviously arts retreats out there across the country. There's plenty of those. What I found is a lot of them are solely like a retreat space and often offer, short-term residencies, maybe a 2-week period. Some are definitely longer. But what we have found in our research and knowing some of these organizations is that those residencies are just that. You get your time and you're out in the woods and you get some writing done, and then hopefully, it's like you're on your way and you're back to the big city and now what, right? And we're trying to sort of bridge a gap here, which is after the creation, now what? And having worked in LA and having worked in New York, we sort of have these connections with, producers and directors and choreographers and this whole like team of, potential artist collaborators that if someone was coming out, let's say, writing a musical and they're the composer, and so they come out here and we give them 2 weeks or a month, and they at the end of that time we say, okay, where are you in your process? So I've written these 5-10 songs. I'm not a book writer. I don't really know what to do next. We can go, okay, great. Here's like our roster of all the amazing Broadway script writers that we know.
Yeah.
Why don't you set up some meetings, have some connections, see who you're vibing with, and then let's get on the calendar and bring you both back out here. So we're really trying to create like a much longer kind of developmental partnership for those projects, and offer the educational component, which a lot of these other retreat spaces don't necessarily have, which is what is going to help make our model more sustainable. As a nonprofit, you're constantly relying on donors and fundraisers and all that kind of stuff, but the kind of earned revenue stream from the masterclass side of the mission will help kind of make it's a sustainable model for being able to offer those residencies to artists for free.
Okay. So you want to take it all the way.
All the way.
That's so great.
Yeah, we really want to help people like, okay, you're writing a Broadway show. Like, we want to get you to Broadway. Like, we want to get you that producer, bring you other people on the team. You want to write a show and you want to sell it to Netflix. How can we make those connections back to LA, get you that pitch? So it's a much more kind of collaborative process that we're hoping to help these artists with.
And how wide ranging are we talking about in the term? Arts is quite the wide umbrella.
Totally.
So, are we doing paintings?
I think eventually I would love to expand into like the fine arts and the visual arts. It's certainly not my area of expertise, but like if we could, build an extra studio here that was dedicated to that, I think it'd be obviously the setting would be very inspiring for people to paint out here. And
it's hard to beat. It is beautiful.
Or a pottery studio. So yeah, eventually I think what we'll start, lots of music and dance and writing, film, photography is all very doable.
Some screenplays.
Absolutely.
I'm here to help.
If you'd like to apply for a residency, we'd love to have you.
But it is gorgeous. It is rustic out here. Jim Harris of Bozeman Spirits is wandering around
I know.
somewhere.
Hopefully he's still out there.
He rode out with us, but we got our bear spray standing by just in case. Don't worry, safety first.
Always.
But so one thing you touched on is the idea of unplugging, right? Mm-hmm. There's so many different facets of technology that are vying for our attention right now. Part of the goal, it sounds like, is to just get away from all that.
Sure.
And how does this property, any of your other sort of aspects of this, how much of that is dependent on keeping people away from their phones?
Yeah, I think it's a fine balance, right? And we're expecting people to be out here for, a week minimum. And, for many people, they might be out here for multiple weeks or multiple months if they're working on a larger scale project. So, there's Starlink out here. So there is access to that if people need and touch base. And there's obviously a certain technological element that we have to have out here by building a music studio. We want to be able to kind of capture people's process. So having, recording capabilities and all of that.
Yeah.
But in terms of, maybe turning off the social media for a little bit, not, turning on whatever streaming service you want every night, but really checking out, enjoying nature, looking at the stars out here every night, which is next level. It's like, it's just pitch black and, unlike anything you've ever seen. So,
and after we speak here, we're going to wander over and there's a meadow, but it just sounds like if you hike a little bit away from the property, then you're no longer on the grid. You no longer have access to the Starlink.
Yeah, the Starlink goes away very quickly.
Some of it will just be about getting out into that nature.
Taking you can walk on the property like 15 minutes and it opens up into this other meadow, which hopefully we have time to check out. But, the idea of, popping a little tent down there and people can go out there and write,
sit and reflect.
No music, no Instagram, no whatever, and just reflect and kind of soak it in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get your latte. You're a honey espresso guy?
I am. Very good. Honey cortado. Yeah.
Honey cortado.
My coffee order.
I do want to talk about the impact that you think A.I.R, the Arts Incubator Ranch, would have on the local community.
Absolutely.
Like the arts scene in Bozeman. How do you see it being impacted by it?
It's a great question. And I think there's a number of ways that we really want to, there's the idea that like, oh, it's a retreat, like they're out in the woods and we could certainly be out here and nobody would know we were out here and not interact with the community. It's very much not the case. And we're looking for as many ways as possible to engage the community. I don't expect people to like make that 2-hour drive down that bumpy dirt road all the time, but are there opportunities to bring people out here, to experience some sort of concert, maybe experience something that's being written and performed for the first time? How can we bring the artists that are coming in out to Bozeman and Big Sky and do concerts in those spaces or present the material that they've been creating and in those places more convenient? We also have been discussing with some of our artists in residence who might be here for a longer term, can we bring those artists into the school system to do, and that's part of the give back. If they're being given this space for free, hey, we're going to give you a month to spend at A.I.R to go write your next album. Would you be willing to go into Big Sky, go into Bozeman for a day and do a masterclass or an assembly or a talk back with those students? So we're really, and we're still exploring every which way that we can engage the community with these artists. It's really important to us.
Yeah. But exporting some of that, the arts that are created, and helping the community sort of like fall in love with the arts that are being created.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we hope to have access to artists that might not otherwise come out to Montana. So if we're able to bring them out and they're here working on a project, or maybe it's a high level artist who's like recording, they want to be in the woods and record their next album in our studio. How can we engage them into the community and give back? And even with the programming we're doing in the next week, that program is exclusive to local musicians. The writer's coming out from Nashville. She's a pretty well-known songwriter out there, writes for all the big names. So to give that opportunity for those local artists that I asked them all, I just said, hey, would you be interested in doing this? And they said, oh my, that's amazing. We would never have that opportunity here.
Yeah.
So the more we can sort of, create those opportunities for local artists as well, it's really important to our mission.
And it does seem like something of momentum is created. And then when, one artist talks to another one, and then all of a sudden everybody's kind of lining up to come out to Trapper's Cabin or Lightning Creek or whatever you're calling
whatever we decide
property.
to call it. Yeah, we do like Lightning Creek. It sounds pretty cool, right?
Lightning Creek does sound cool.
Yeah.
Just for my artist's ear, hits it just right.
Good. There's apparently some pretty nice cutthroat trout in there as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can't wait to get out and get in the water a little bit.
Yeah.
So we have a peak behind you. There's a couple more peaks over here. We have, you said Gallatin National Forest, outside the 640 acres.
Yeah.
That's Gallatin National Forest.
Yeah, we're surrounded by the National Forest, and then just beyond to our west is the Lee Metcalf Wilderness. And then apparently you could walk, or more likely get on a horse and ride all the way through the property, through the National Forest, and get all the way to Yellowstone without ever crossing a road.
How about that?
Yeah. So we are out there. It is remote, and it's just, but that's the beauty of it.
Yeah. And some bear concern. You want to keep your head on a swivel.
They're apparently out here.
Yeah.
I've been told it's grizzly country, but also moose and elk and deer and everything else. But yeah, it's we'll be equipping everybody with bear spray. We'll do a safety meeting on the first night when we all gather, and it's really about staying in groups. As much as people might want to kind of go off on their own and hike, I think it's kind of the place where hike together, and then you could sit spread out and meditate or write or whatever it is. But
set up your electrified fence.
Yeah, safety first at all times.
And let's talk about year-round accessibility. How much of the year do you anticipate being able to use the range?
Sure, it's a great question. I mean, currently it's they say it's seasonally accessible. So anybody who's coming up here in the winter is snowmobiling from about 7 miles down the road where they stop plowing. Our goal is to kind of slowly increase that accessibility. We'd love to be up here year round, whether that means we're snowmobiling in or getting some snowcats that I've been researching, doing some stuff to the road to make it a little more accessible throughout the winter. But I imagine and I envision that we're here year round, and people can be up here in the middle of the winter. It's, you've lived here long enough now where the winter, as cold and as brutal as it can be, it's also very magical and inspiring in a whole different way. So we want to sort of have that experience as well. There might be a couple months where we decide to shut her down for the winter, and then open it back up in the spring.
And I'm sure there might be some more extreme individuals with a wingsuit in, maybe.
We could do that.
There's some different ways to
There's ways to get here. You could copter in here. There's enough landing space.
Yeah.
If you wanted to.
Okay.
Yeah.
What can people in the community do if they want to be sort of a part of this or feel like they're helping to make it, really happen? It seems like you're there. You've gotten there.
We're there. It's happening.
If people are hearing about it for the first time, they're like, "Oh, I want to be a part of that."
Absolutely.
How can they?
And it is a nonprofit, so it does require the support of donors and particularly the community. It's really important, like I said, to be engaged in the community. So we're hoping the community will engage with us, and they can go to our website. www.airmt.org.
Got it.
And all the information's there. You can see the whole vision, all about our programming, who we are, what we intend to do. There's a form there that you can send us an email if you want to get involved. There's obviously a link to donate right there. You can give us a follow on Instagram, check us out, and then just stay tuned. There's more coming.
Highly recommend it. Be a part of A.I.R. Get the opportunity at some point to come out here and enjoy this, ridiculous nature escape and bring your bear spray. Anything that we missed in that portion?
We have an event coming up on November 1st.
I didn't know if you wanted me to plug it or not.
Yeah, let's plug it. Why not? So like I said, this artist Jamie Floyd is coming out from Nashville to do her mini residency in this masterclass. And at the end of that week, we're doing an event at the Tune-Up Bar, 5 p.m. on Friday, November 1st. And it's just going to be a celebration of what we accomplished that week. Jamie's going to share some of the material she worked on. The songwriters who take place in that masterclass are going to share the songs that they worked on with Jamie during the day. And we'll talk a little bit more about Lightning Creek and our long-term vision and how the community can help support us.
And this is just open to the public.
Yeah, come on. I mean, go on the website. There's a little RSVP link
Gotta
just so
sign
we can get an accurate account. It's just, it's not a huge space, but
Yeah.
we're that's filling up fast. So jump on the website. And
Did I interrupt the last thing that you were saying when I was
I don't know. I think I got
violent outburst?
Go on the website.
Okay. RSVP, make it to the tune-up.
Yeah.
And
Friday, November 1st.
I expect to be there. Cool. And before I let
Bring
you
your
go,
bear spray.
Everybody bring bear spray. It's very important.
Yeah.
I do want to play inside the Arts Incubator Ranch studio with you. Uh-oh. Yes. And so I do need I require my glasses for this. It's very serious.
This is your best James Lipton.
My best James Lipton.
Okay.
I'm with Jared Stein. Jared, what is your favorite Broadway musical?
Oh, that is a hard one. The Who's Tommy.
The Who's Tommy. An excellent choice.
Thank you.
Is this how James Lipton talks?
Yeah.
What, Jared Stein, is a terrible Broadway musical?
Oh, I could get in trouble.
You could. Go ahead.
What is a terrible... I gotta think of something.
Least
it's like all my friends work on all of them. It's whatever I say, I'm gonna upset somebody.
They can't all be good.
They can't all be good.
No.
I haven't seen a bad one in a while.
Have you worked on a bad one?
I haven't. I've been blessed to work on only the cool ones. Yeah. Can I pass?
No, you have to say one.
I have to say Cats.
Cats. Yeah. That is there's
it's
just no story
it's just the
to
concept
it.
is really,
And
I won't upset anybody if I say that one.
It's a bunch of poems. Like, where does it go?
It's a bunch of poems, and it's very repetitive.
All right, I agree.
Very
Cat's
good.
terrible.
Okay.
Whistle down the wind. Also, not great. If you could only hear one song for the rest of your life, what song would you choose?
Wow,
Jared Stein.
There's a recent incarnation of A Bridge Over Troubled Water by Jacob Collier that is absolutely mind-blowingly brilliant.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
I've got that on repeat. It features Tori Kelly and Yeba Smith and John Legend and Jacob Collier doing like all the harmonies. I listen to that on repeat all the time.
Wow, will you send me that?
I will.
When we get back to the civilization outside of here. All right. What sound makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand on end?
A grizzly bear coming through the woods.
It's an excellent answer.
Yeah.
Jared Stein.
Appropriate, yes.
All right, this is a long question.
Uh-oh.
But we're almost done.
Okay.
Were you upset at Lauren Boebert for acting inappropriately at Beetlejuice, or were you just glad people like her go to the theater sometimes and not just WWE Monday Night Raw?
That is an excellent question. I was very upset, and I think people need to learn some more theater etiquette.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Like a lesson for us all.
For everyone, not just Lauren Boebert. All theater goers. We've lost some etiquette.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lauren Boebert, for bringing it to our attention.
Absolutely.
That not everybody knows that.
Yes.
Jared, thank you for joining us here on Inside the Arts Incubator Ranch studio.
Thank you for having me.
No, this has been a pleasure. I apologize to anybody listening or viewing if the sound got weird at some point. We had a couple of issues. I blame Trapper's Cabin, Lightning Creek.
Absolutely.
For all of it.
It's the remote location
that
did it, yeah.
But you're a good man.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll see everybody at the November 1st event.
Yeah.
At the tune-up.
If not, then we'll see them up here next summer.
All right. Perfect.
Cool. Thanks.
Be good. Yeah.